Hey everybody, Dimitri here with Serg Supply, and today's video is because I screwed up. Let's dig right in.
Audio Jungle.
That's right, I made a mistake. I made a small oversight, and it's going to cost me dearly. And today I'm going to take you guys along the ride. Here's what happened. We built our entire power system. We ran every single wire throughout the van. Then I didn't account for the fact that my Victron screen, my controller, needs to be accessible. Here's where it currently is. Let me show you guys. If you look in here, this guy was run through here. Why is this a problem? Well, number one, my power system's about to die, but this is going to be covered. This is the Murphy bed system. This has platforms on top of it. I will not be able to get in here, nor do I want to take my bed apart every single time I want to check the screen. The other downside is that the cable that comes with this screen is way too damn short because I need to run up the walls, up this pillar, and right here next to my Wabasso, although I think I'm going to mount it a little lower so I can see it when I'm in bed. One thing I had to purchase to make this work, in case you're curious and you're in the same predicament, is this mounting plate here. I'll be cutting a hole for it. It just snaps right onto that screen, makes it real easy. And then these guys are right here. These are extensions for both USB on the power side and HDMI on the data feed side. The cable that comes with this is nowhere near long enough. I understand you can buy longer cables. I don't have them. And after talking with the systems engineer, if you're worried about just voltage drop, not being able to power something like this, I have it at under 12 feet, so I'm good. If you're running it like 50 feet all around the van, yeah, you're going to have some issues, but at this length, it's really not going to be a problem. So I'm going to rip my little power system apart here just to make sure, number one, that my extensions work before I go crazy. And if they do, then I will start the process of removing the cabinets, removing the rear side wall panel kit, refeeding the wire, and then putting it all back together. Let the nightmare begin. All right, just to start, just to be safe, I'm going to turn off the power system. There we go. We've got no more power here. Inverter's off. I know this guy still has a little residual, but I'm more worried about the high voltage stuff. Power is off. I'm isolated. There is that plug. Here's both sides of it. There's a USB for power, HDMI for data. This is what's currently running up through there. And I'm going to attempt to replace both with my extensions. So let's see. Actually, why don't I pull this whole thing out? Let's start from there. Boy, I really made a mess of this thing. I got a bunch of zip ties holding this stuff in, so I'm going to cut these and be right back. I have plugged in those cables into our Serbo GX down there, and let me be honest with you, that sucked really bad. That was awful. I have this extended here. I have the HDMI extended here, and look at what I did. Sometimes I'm a real monkey. I am really not the brightest bulb. So I have to order another cable. I'm going to go get this guy replaced, and we're going to probably make it easy on ourselves and just get an adapter instead. So I'm going to continue on with the video. We'll run this wire. I will get a female to female HDMI adapter. It should do the trick, but man, what a foresight. Something for you to look out for if you have to do the same thing. Before I go crazy though, I'm going to attempt to plug just this HDMI back in, leave my USB extension to make sure this is effectively powering the screen, because HDMI, not so complicated. I have a pretty high, I don't know, faith. I have high faith that the HDMI is not going to be a factor here, but the USB does concern me. So I'm going to rummage back there, again, plug it back in, turn the power system on, make sure it works before we start ripping all these panels off and routing wires. I have replugged the HDMI. I'm just testing to make sure the USB powers this thing back on just fine, and would you look at that, we are good to go. Very happy with that. So, time for the fun stuff. We have to start with deciding where the screen goes, make a hole, run wire down, pull all of the cabinets on the driver's side out, pull the wall panels for the center and the bottom on the driver's side out. After everything's been zip tied beautifully and neatly, this won't be fun. I'll have you guys along for the ride. this is honestly a reality of van building. This does happen. I won't say it happens all the time, but happens enough to where you learn not to get so bummed out about it. So if you're going into this thinking that this can't happen to you, think again. It probably will. Just be prepared for it and maybe help yourself out, help out future you by doing things that might make it easier in case you do have to get back in. Like, don't zip tie everything to make it look perfect until the very end of the project, stuff like that. So let's start ripping this thing apart. Got something else down here, don't we? Nope. Maybe just a lot of freaking weight. A lot of weight was the answer. How unfortunate. Let's get a shorter screwdriver. I got a little bit more slack off the wires by undoing essentially every single zip tie that I had previously put on. And you'll notice I'm not taking these screws out all the way. I'm really hoping and banking on that I may be able to just release the L-track from the wall far enough to where the panels will pop out, but not far enough to where everything comes apart. Again, I really just need enough access to run some wires and not much else. So less is more here. Turns out I'm not as lucky as I would have hoped to be, and that I will have to take off all of this L-track. Main reason being, instead of trimming my lower panels to where they're flush with the floor, I wanted to keep them a little longer to tuck behind the floor in the back. So that prevents me then from pulling the bottom out and being able to work with it. So I'm on the last few screws here. You're probably going to see the L-track drop rather dramatically here in a second. And hopefully the upper panel doesn't also come crashing down onto me. But you'll be along for the ride, don't you worry. Okay. One more screw. And this L-track should be scot-free. Oh boy, that tension doesn't make me feel good. There we go. Okay, L-track is out. Awesome. And now, this wall panel here, I can't remove it all the way. I have no choice but to keep it here because I put a grommet with wires passing through. Not really anything to do there. Let's get rid of these torn gloves. This part on the top, however, does need to come out. I'm going to give it a good little hit downwards. Hopefully it'll pop out of this upper L-track, and then I'll just pull it right out. Voila! Wall panel and backing are now home free. I was very careful not to choose my screen location until I knew where this wire could come out. And I want it to come out right about there. So I'm going to take my hole saw. I'm going to place this hole about right here, which I would say anywhere from 4 inches out and 4 inches down from the corner should be just fine. So that's what I'm going to aim for right now. Let's get her done. All right. Well, there's no going back now. You will notice that one hole I made is not really going to be enough to do the job. Let me get this out and explain. Here we go. So this plate needs this shape. So I am going to, well, you know, in theory, you could shoot it to here and have it sticking up, which actually, honestly, on second thought, might be better because I want to be able to remove the screen. I don't want this to be completely flush fit on the inside. So I will do that. I will shoot this exactly as it is. I'll let the wire pass through that hole, and I will allow my screen to be just a little ways off the wall, because flush fit is going to be a bit of a nightmare to make a system to mount it. Plus, it's going to be a lot harder to pop the screen out if I ever need it. So let's do that. Okay, my panel's just kind of gently put up, and I want to tell you kind of the odds I'm facing here. I need to take this wire, join it to this loomed section here that's already part of the van, and I need to feed the wire down through that beam out to where I can get to it with those HDMIs and put it in a place where I can get that female to female adapter and make this whole thing work. So I think the plan right now is going to be to zip tie this all together, run the wire as best as I can, hope for the best, and if it terminates inside of my wheel well box, then I'm golden. Hurrah. If not, I will have to figure something else out. Just to be safe, before I get crazy into those, I think I'm going to pop a grommet, those factory holes. I know they're already, rust coated and deburred out the factory, but it's not really something that I want to deal with here. So just to be safe, I'm going to protect that hole, push the wiring through, and see if I can get it splice ready. Talk about a pain in the butt. So I got to get this panel under this L-track, but the L-track's sitting on threads and it's hard to pull out. So I'm going to use this guy, help myself out a little bit here. I will mount it, give it a nice pull. Awesome, now I got some space. Do the same for the back here. Awesome. And now the very back. Cool. Now, with any luck, I should be able to slide this panel underneath and then gently upwards. There we go. Okay, before I go crazy on putting it all the way up, I'm going to make sure that I can get my lower panel mounted in as well. So now that this panel is in place, the very little bit of slack I need can be pulled through. There we go. Fantastic. Whoop. And let's get the lower panel in, and then we'll get the top all buttoned up. Okay, bottom panel is in. Very loose L-track down below. What I don't want to do is completely remove the L-track, misalign everything. And then let's show you guys a little something fun. I see now that I've put this plate on backwards. So let's go ahead and remove everything and start all over again. All right, got it all out. Let's just double check that this is proper. It is. Oh my goodness, look at that. Great job, genius. And now let's feed it all back in there. I had this, by the way, this is just some plastic conduit in place of trim lock or something like that for the bottom. And let's see if I have some better luck here. Okay. All right. I'm not giving you the best angles here. Let's see if I can get you guys in a little closer. Okay. When you've already fed a bunch of wires down here, it doesn't exactly lend to the easiest task. And adding one or two more. But occasionally you get lucky, like I just did. Okay, feed through here. We're gonna go through our wall panel next. Awesome, we're through the grommet. And a little bit of finesse, I'm done playing with the wires. Look at that. Let's put all the panels back on now. It's just a job of aligning everything, packing the L-track properly over the top, and shooting it all together. I'll let you guys know how it goes. Okay, L-track is on, and with a little bit of luck, this cabinet should, a little bit of luck, a little bit of muscle, everything should go right back where it needs to go. Now, before I mount it all the way, let me take you over here for a second. I need to put my L-track studs in, and I need to make sure that little HDMI thing makes it through the back of the cabinet. So let's start there. I'll shoot it in. tidy it up, and then we'll move on to the screen. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Ho ho! Obviously the screen's not on right now because I only have USB plugged in. I don't have the HDMI plugged in, but all in all, I think we did a pretty tidy job. I'm very happy with how this came out. There we are. Another close look into the reality of van building, and that you make mistakes and things go wrong sometimes, and it's just not fun when it happens, but it's realistic to expect that it could happen and will happen to you, especially if you're DIYing the first time. Now, I've got a mess behind me. I've got all kinds of tools to clean up, but as of now, I'm really happy with where it's at. We're ready to move on in this build series and get into plumbing, some finer electrical inside of the cabinets. But if you guys have questions on anything that happened back here, what parts we used to make this work, please drop them below. In case you're curious, I did do this solo. This took me about 3 hours to complete. I've been filming, so take what I say with a grain of salt. It's been a lot of back and forth. Didn't really run into any serious issues here. If you're watching and you're interested in purchasing some of the products you might see in the back, please use code YT25 at checkout. It's a little gift from us to you on YouTube. And if you haven't joined our Facebook group, it's facebook.com/Serg Supply. Love to see you there. Before you ask, yes, it's a new apron. I'm a big fan of apron. I've got all kinds of aprons. This is from my days back at K9 Tactical Gear. Very proud of this apron. You'll see me cycle all kinds of aprons in rotation here. But in any case, thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you for suffering with me. I'm sorry you had to see the harsh reality of van building. Even the pros screw up sometimes, and you can see how one little wire will ruin your day if you're not careful enough. So, as always, I appreciate you watching this to the end, and happy building.